Primarily,
spiritual?
we do inspirational. We do some spiritual things. I have my book. It's inspirational. It's called Think and Be Blessed.
Okay.
All right. This right here, this is a historical book. It's called Cole is one of my authors, Shannon Guy. It's a really great story. He just wrote it. It just came out. It's fresh off the press. He's a great writer. I suggest you support it. It has some
What is
ideas
it about? You
slavery.
got your hand on that.
Yeah, I can read
On
the
the
back
title
of
there.
it.
The camera's
It says
showing it.
Cole.
What you got?
It's the name of it is Cole. And we do make customize the book covers and everything for the authors.
And what's Cole about?
Cole, let me read the back matter. It says, Cole is a gut-wrenching story examined through the life of a free man captured into slavery. It is a journey that takes you through love and lust and that pulls you over the threshold of degradation and on to redemption. Born free in the North, Cole is kidnapped and shipped down south and forced to perform in brutal blood sport called buck brawling. So through his eyes, you see the carnal pains and pleasures and desires and dreams en route to self-discovery.
Okay.
So,
And what else do you have there?
I have another one of my authors. Her name is Aisha Barnes. She's written a beautiful book of poetry.
Okay.
Her poetry is lovely. That's all I can say. She just came out with this book. You can also get this book on Amazon.com, or if you want to go to my website, it's www.wareresources. That's W-A-R-E, wareresources.com. I have a number of books on there also that you can purchase and support the cause. And people that purchase from my website, I usually support in the community and kind of give back a portion of whatever people purchase from me. I also have a blog that I offer information on probably like 2 or 3 days out of each week. And I blog and I share it on Facebook. And you can find me on Facebook if you want to follow my blog. It's at, and on my Facebook page, it's Ware Resources and Publishing. And I give out positive information because I'm just trying to, make sure, keep people going, keep them positive and everything. My other author, his name is Omar Sharif. He's written a book, it's called, I named her Inspiration. And he does a lot of open mic poetry at the different venues that we have down in Wilmington and in the Worm Daddies at the World, in Philadelphia, and at World Cafe down in Wilmington. So
And I know Omar.
Yeah.
I know Omar and his son Big O. Douglas.
right, Big O, that's right.
He just won the what is it? Light heavy? No, not light heavy. I guess he's the junior weight championship belt in boxing. So he's a boxing champion, young brother who's doing a lot in the community as well, going out and speaking to the kids about nonviolence and to stay on the straight and narrow, to stay in school, of course, and to become a success in whatever field that you choose to do. You want to speak out in advocacy against different issues, or you want to write about different stories and tell stories, or you want to be a talk show host like Mr. Lenny Church down there on the end, who's being modest right about now. He's giving us a break, but he did address a question to Zoe. We want to go ahead and get with that. What was your question again, Lenny?
Well, I already just brought it to the young lady's attention that when it comes to the increased recreational use of drugs, once they're induced into anyone's body, they become a portion of the drug. Now, if anything, you'll find that once you begin to do it, then what happens is you become addicted. It's like nicotine. And we know that nicotine is one of the most addictive drugs of any smoke drug. And most of the individuals in life that I've ever encountered in the process of it, and we all have done this in our life, you can see that some do and some don't. But the question of the ones who do, they become addicted to something other than that. And like I'll say this much, you may start out with 1 cigarette, but eventually it becomes to 2. And then most of the people that smoke, 9 times out of 10, it becomes a pack. Some people stop smoking after a pack. Some people smoke 3 packs. It depends on what your occupation is. It depends on what your tolerance level is.
Well,
And I'm just saying it is.
What do you think about the benefits, though, with the medical use of marijuana?
Well, what
not
I'm
the
going to say is
recreational
that's
use,
an infantile study. And any infantile study, it's great to generate interest in it, but in the process, how long will it take? And my point is this, and how many lives are going to be disrupted? And in that process, I'll say this much, you know, and you know this as well as I do. In war and peace, you know, what's the livelihood of life when you're in war and peace?
Well, that's a good point, Lenny. You know, there has been a war on drugs for many years now, and I'm not so sure if it accomplished anything. A lot of people got killed and hurt and weren't able to use the benefits like we just mentioned, or like Zoe just mentioned, to help people to live longer instead of, so the war on drugs been going on for a long time, wasting a lot of money. A lot of people, our young children, are locked up and in jail because of recreational. You brought up recreational, but we're actually advocating for medical use, and which has already been passed, by the way. And they already got the centers and being regulated, which is going to curtail some of the wars on drugs and save some lives. You know what I mean? If it's just kind of like alcohol prohibition, and I'm not advocating either way, or I'll just let Zoe pick up.
Well, I'll say this just to kind of expound on what you just said. A lot of us here that are listening that are a little older than you and me, or even some of them are the same age as us, or maybe a little younger. We remember the Kansas fields out in Kansas with the warehouses, and people were starving in the street. Then all of a sudden, the government stepped in, and what did they do? They opened up the vats, and all of a sudden, you received surplus food out there. But all this time, it was out there sitting. Now, how did they get it, and how was it cultivated? It's the same thing with marijuana. They show you somebody burning something, but it's cultivated. And I'll agree with you, Linwood, to this point. Look, it's no different than prohibition or whatever the case may be. The point is, when it becomes a revenue source, and let's be realistic, and you know as well as I do, once it becomes a revenue source where the right individuals are making the money, then of course it'll be let go. Just like prohibition, as you say, prohibition for some of you individuals that may not know, and the younger ones out there, it's like the thugs, Al Capone and all this other stuff, the drug things that you were talking about, Linwood, and the murder and everything that's happening. All of this stuff is tied in, and it's tied into the fact that it is. Sure, it has a medicinal, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't. It has a medicinal preference, and it has a medicinal performance in the process. We haven't done enough studies for that. But in the meantime, prohibition was what? What was it?
Well, I'm not so sure about if we didn't do the studies. I think we've been doing the studies for over 100 years. Zoe brought a bunch of panels to prove that point. As a matter of fact, I'm not an expert on it, but we do have an expert here, so I'll let her address that one. What do you think, Zoe?
We've done a lot of research. I just wanted to address, he said about the gateway theory. That's been long since debunked in the 1970s when it was in Congress talking about the Controlled Substance Act. There was a commission that was put forth that said that there is no gateway theory, or there is no gateway for cannabis, that it's just a theory, that actually prohibition creates that, if anything, and that most people, most children or whoever get their hands on nicotine or alcohol first. When we're considering that, alcohol kills 25,000 people a year just on alcohol poisoning and overdose, where cannabis can't kill anyone. And nicotine kills over 440,000 people a year. And as far as the addiction for nicotine is about at 32%, and cannabis is at 9%. And just to put things in perspective, gambling's at 7% and shopping's at 6%. So there's plenty of stuff that, you know, can be addicting. And right now we have an obesity epidemic here in the United States. So there's a lot of thought that food is addicting, and a lot of the stuff that they're putting in the food, like the MSG and stuff like that, the sugars. A lot of things are addicting, but putting people in jail where, you know, they're thrown in jail, they have to pay fines, and their driver's license are suspended, and their children are being taken for something that's less addictive, less harmful, safer than alcohol, safer than Tylenol. Tylenol kills around 500 people a year. Cannabis has never killed anyone. You mentioned, Jimi Hendrix, who it's a great topic because he died from alcohol overdose. And when we're looking at 40% of all murders are committed on alcohol. 37% of all sexual assaults are committed on alcohol. When you see, the British Advisory Council says that there is no increase in risk-taking behaviors in cannabis. You don't see cannabis consumers out there causing problems. A lot of times they just get something to eat, go home, go to bed. You can't die from it. You can never consume enough for you to ever overdose. You'd go to sleep first. Where, as opposed to, like I said, alcohol, you could drink, someone with a low tolerance could probably drink a fifth of alcohol and probably have to go to the hospital. As well as the fact that, Delaware spends over $13,250,000 a year just on cannabis possession. When Delaware is the only state in the country still left with a recession risk. I just don't think that's,
So that's why we have you on the show today, Zoe, representing Norm with the statistics and a lot of. Well, how many states? Can you tell me how many states legalized medical marijuana so far?
It's 21 plus DC, and there's 2 recreational, Colorado and Washington. Colorado actually just started their recreational sale January 1st. In their first day, they had about $1 million in income. The state of Colorado is expecting $64 million just the first year of implementation, with $27.5 million going directly to schools off of that tax, and then another $6 million going to local governments. And like you said, you just mentioned about the the violence epidemic that we have here in Delaware and Wilmington, being the 6th most dangerous state I think it's the 8th most dangerous state and the 6th most dangerous city in the entire United States. Prohibition creates crime. We saw that with alcohol prohibition. That's why, it was repealed almost immediately.
Most of the shootings going on in the city, a lot of people are attributing to drugs and this type of stuff. So I'm not sure what they're shooting over, who the victims are and why, but I do hear that it's a lot of done over drugs. And so certainly if we made it legal, then we took that diameter away from them, and then they had to fight or shoot for something else. I don't know. Not to mention the criminal justice system. Our jails are full of people. So that's the way I'm looking at it. And we're glad you came on with your information, Dave. What are you working on next, man? What's your next book?
The next book I have is a book called Cell Society. It's a science fiction novel that I've been writing for about 10 years now. It should be coming out sometime this year. I don't have a specific date yet, but I'm trying to finish that up. So.
And what's it about again?
It's a science fiction novel. It's called Cell Society. It's about a scientist that builds a machine, and he discovers how to travel down into the human cell, and he begins to understand what the meaning of a soul is. So that's my book.
That's your latest,
it's a science fiction novel. So.
What about you, Lenny?
I'm going to say with what he just said, I'm going to let him in on something that you and I, Linwood, since we've been here a little longer than some of these young folks.
We're going back a ways too, Lenny.
Yeah, I know.
Don't tell the age, man.
I ain't going to say nothing. I won't say that. I won't say a word. But I'll say this cartoon that you and I know. It was called Fantastic Voyage.
Oh, no, I don't remember that.
You don't remember that one? Come on, man.
All right, don't tease
Don't
me,
even
man.
say it. You know what it's about. Where the
back a long way.
where the
My
doctor
first
shot
job
up
was
the
with
guy.
Lenny Church.
Look, the doctor shot up the guy.
Right.
And when they went to try to save the fella, they shot him in there, and they went in a little submarine and went in through the body and found out all the problems that they had. And that's just that's one of those things in the past. You might have read that in the past, but what you're saying now is it's a reenactment of something that had occurred prior to what you're saying. And if you had a chance maybe to read it or see it or whatever.
And honestly, there's really no new stories. Just stories, they take ideas and they write them.
Exactly.
to bring something new out of it, so that people can see a better picture of it, a better ideal of how things are,
As
understood.
time evolves.
Yeah, as time evolves, it adjusts with time.
Because along the same note, I remember I just read a story the other day about robotics, and the robots are there. Soon they're going to be taking over. They got them. They evolved to the point where they're thinking for themselves, and we're starting to worry about that. You know, and when back with what Lenny was talking about years ago, it was just a dream or a thought. You know what I mean? And I'm wondering if this machine, this submarine business, is that what inspired you to go in the Navy, man?
Now you're going to hit me with a question on live television. And see, this is why Linwood and me are friends. I wouldn't let anybody get away with this.
We going back away.
Especially if he's an Army guy. I'm a Navy guy. I ain't going to say nothing else. And you know how I was when you saw me last month on television about Army and Navy. That's why he's trying to get me back, public, the public audience. It's
just
Army,
so they know,
Navy.
just
we
so they
spanked
know.
them,
Just
all right?
so they know.
This is why he invited me on the show, so he can throw a punch at me on live television. But aside from all that being said, like I said, the extinguished panel that we have here, they have positions that they take based on the knowledge that they have. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not for me to sit here and judge them or anything like that. They've done extensive work on what they want to do.
Absolutely.
Especially the young lady and, of course, the young man here. They're young, forward-thinking young individuals that are taking the time to be able to bring you, the live audience, information that's pertinent to what you are thinking about.
You
And
be the
as
judge.
Linwood said once before, that look, the problems we have, not only in the city, but in the state. I brought some stuff with me nationwide. I'm not going to have the time to bring it on, but I'll bring it on the 19th. And we'll present that to you. But the fact
Was that the Lapa Hour?
What's that?
What are you on, the Lapa Hour?
Lapa Hour. I didn't want to be wrong. But that's the Lapa Hour. We'll bring some of that on to you to let you know exactly where it stands in terms of people being murdered nationwide. This isn't a local area. This is not something that's local. It's as Linwood said, and I agree with him, it's all drug induced. Okay, and we can't sit back and, no matter what drug it is, it's all drug induced. Because if you do not have an education, and you're not trying to receive an education, and you have a broken family home, then where are you going to be able to make a living? And there's no one there that's going to hire you because you have no specific skill to put you in a skill level where you can be able to make a living, but you're making kids. And in that process, without having those 4 elements in your progression in life, and trust me, those 4 elements in your progression of life, and I'm not saying that you have to have a father and a mother, but what you have to do is be responsible to the person that's in charge of you. When you lose that respect for the person that is responsible, that's in charge of you, then what you become is an individual that's in a chaotic state. And when you're in a chaotic state, here's your results of not only this city, but nationwide. This is an epidemic of people in a chaotic state that cannot make rational decisions for whatever reason they're in, other than the fact that they do not have a bona fide education. Linwood?
Yeah, I agree. All those are contributing factors, and not one all do all. Just because your father's home don't mean you're going to be a criminal or whatever. A lot of us were raised fatherless. But your point though is you do have to take responsibility for your own life at a certain time in your life, and generally that's when you finish high school or college, when society says, okay, you're an adult now, and you should understand adult way to live in and the rules of society, and live within those means. So you have to take responsibility for yourself. If you end up incarcerated or whatever, you're college educated, which is what we are advocating for sure, to get yourself out there and be a contributing factor in society, like our esteemed panelists here today. Zoe Patchell, did I say your name correctly? We want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us, and trying to enlighten us with what you're advocating, legalization of medical marijuana and others. And we want to, it's a terrible snowstorm out there. We want you guys to be careful, stay warm, watch out for the senior citizens out there, your neighbors and all. We want to thank Dave Ware. I know we got you guys in here at the last minute. Herman Holloway Jr. called me at the last minute, and we assembled this team together here to come on and give you guys a show, try to give you some relevant information that you can use and how to do the right thing. Dave, we appreciate you coming out, man, at the last minute and sharing your knowledge. I know if you guys want to write a book or anything, you get it published or whatever, edit it. Here's your man right here. And Lenny, it's always a pleasure. Lenny Church at the Lapa. I want to thank Josie Roy. I know she's out there watching.
That's right. You stealing my thunder. See, I want to thank Lapa for what they've done. I also want to thank Sherry. I definitely want to thank Sammy because Sammy doesn't want to spend any money. And then I also want to thank Ruth Baker because without Ruth Baker as our head in this process, and I'll be remiss if I didn't say for the late Charlie Smith, because Charlie Smith has done so much for what we have here, and we would be out of character if we never ever every time we get on television we should say something in his behalf because he's just a good person. And Linwood, is your show. Zoe. Also, hold on, I'm wrong. Because I want to thank one other person, and that's for Herman actually to move aside and give Linwood some time.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, you know how hard that was. You know how hard that was.
Just say it.
Herm, I appreciate it. We're coming right back at you, but I want to get Zoe might have some closing remarks, maybe your contact information. Anybody wants some? What's your call to action?
Yes, please. Contact us at denormal.org. That's our website. We're also on Facebook. There's a few bills out there right now. HR 499, which is to end federal prohibition. It would end all this talk on a federal level. And there's also HR 689, the Patient Protection Act, which would protect the patients in the states that have medical cannabis right now from the federal authorities.
Anybody in particular they should call? Any politicians out there?
Call Congressman Carney is voting on both of those policies, and contact your local legislators to tell them that we need something different here in Delaware. We need something like Colorado. Stop spending the money. Stop putting people in jail. Cannabis is 48% of all drug arrests. We need to stop this.
Education over incarceration.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Dave, you got any contact information out? Any closing remarks?
Before I say that, I just like to say this young lady, she gave a lot of important information. I don't smoke marijuana, but I mean, if it can help somebody and it doesn't, and they don't become addicted and can help cure cancer or whatever, I'm personally, that sounds good to me. I mean, if it can save a life, you know what I mean? Is very important. In terms of publishing, I would like to see you publish a book. You have a lot of information. Believe me, it's like a dissertation. I know I've been to graduate school. I graduated from college in Tuskegee University, so I know it's a lot of information. In terms of publishing a book, you want to publish a book, certainly give me a call. You can look me up on my website. That's www.wareresources. That's W-A-R-E, wareresources, the word resources.com. Or you can call me. I have two extensions. One extension is from my art company. The other one's from my publishing company. My publishing company extension is 1-888-469-4850, extension 2. All right, I have people waiting to help you. If you want to meet with me personally, call me. I'll meet you somewhere at the library, donuts. I'll come to your house if I need to meet you.
I'm coming over for donuts, man.
You know what I mean? Whatever. I'm here to help you to publish your book, to help your dreams come to pass.
All right.
That's what I'm here to do. I have financing. If money's a problem, we can work something out like that. So
no, that doesn't get any better than that. And I know I'm broke.
My number is 1-888-469-4850, extension 2. You can call me tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. I'm up.
All right now. Lenny Church. Closing remarks, my man.
I love the way Linwood Jackson calls me Lenny Church. I call him Linwood, but he wants to call me Lenny Church. His name is Lenny. We both Lenny.
Yes,
but he always wants to get on my case. But I'll say this much. In closing, one of the things I want to do is thank all of you for coming, but I definitely want to thank Linwood for giving me an offer to come here. And he said, hey, look, Len, can you make it happen? I'm coming back from a football game where that jersey that he's wearing, I'm not into that.
That's all right. That's all right.
When
that's
I come
all right.
in, that's all right.
When we win next year, it'll be a done deal.
But I'll say this much. They did play a heck of a game. I was watching it, and it was interesting with my little baby sister.
We lost it.
May your feet get well.
Lenny, I got 1 minute, and I'm going to close
Go
it. I
ahead,
got to
I'm
get
going.
out
Back to
there.
you.
We want to thank Herman Holloway Jr. For bringing us on. He'll be on next week, same time, same place, talking about the Henrietta Johnson Medical Center. He's going to bring a team from there, talk about the medical stuff and what's going on at the Henry Johnson Medical Center. I'm Linwood Jackson. I'm the host of the Linwood Jackson Radio Show on WFAI 1510 AM. That's WFAI 1510 AM, 2 to 3 every Sunday afternoon. Thanks for joining us, and stay tuned. And come back next week when Herman will be back here. Bye.